This PowerPoint is about naming simple compounds. One type of compound is ionic binary compounds, and ionic compounds are just metals and nonmetals. When you're putting together the name for the ionic compound, the cation, which is the metal, is always going to come before the anion, which is the nonmetal. The suffix IDE will always be added to the end of the anion, and there's two different kinds of ionic compounds. There's type 1, which is the metal, or which is when the cation only has one possible charge, and that's most of them. Most cations only have one charge, but there are a few metals that are an exception, and they fall into the type 2 type of compounds. These are cations that have multiple different charges, and very common cations that can have different charges is iron, and here I've listed just two really common ones, the Fe plus 2 and the Fe plus 3. And in this next slide, this is a periodic table of the elements, and it shows you the charges. So group 1 has a plus 1. Group 2 has a plus 2. This one has a plus 3. This one has a plus 4. And they're like this because it's easier to go this way to get to the noble gases than to go all the way over here. So they are positive numbers. These next four, so like nitrogen is -3, oxygen is -2, then -1, and then 0. The noble gases have a neutral charge. So like hydrogen is +1, beryllium is +2, boron +3, carbon +4, and so on. But these elements in the middle here, they are the elements that can vary on their charges. Like here's copper, it's a very common one. And then you have the manganese and the iron and cobalt and all those good elements. They're all here in the middle, and their charges are going to vary. So here's some type 1 examples. Here you have sodium chloride. Here it's your cation, then your anion with the IDE on the end. You have potassium bromide, lithium fluoride, calcium iodide, aluminum fluoride, and magnesium bromide. All of these are your type 1s with the cation in front, the anion on the end with the IDE ending. Now here's the type 2 ionic compounds. So you have iron, Fe2. This 2 goes with the iron. And chloride. It still has the IDE ending. It just has a different charge. So in this example, you have iron 3 chloride. This 3 goes with Fe. And then I chose 2 more that use copper because it's also a common one. And you have copper 2 iodide with the IDE ending, and then copper 1 oxide right here. See, copper is right here, and iron is right here, and the variable charges. Now moving on to covalent compounds. Covalent compounds are binary compound. They're nonmetal plus nonmetal, and a prefix is going to be added to the first and second ion, along with the suffix IDE at the end of the second ion. So the most common, I only listed 5, but most commonly used are up to 10. But I listed 5. So mono, it's rarely used, but it's 1, of course. Di, 2, tri, 3, tetra, 4, and penta, 5. So here's some examples of those. Here you have carbon dioxide, so that the 2 goes with the O. Then you have tetraphosphorus decoxide. The deca is 10, and if there's a vowel, then you just go ahead and take off the A and just add on. Here you have dinitrogen tetroxide, sulfur trioxide, and manganese dioxide. All these compounds still end in the IDE. They just have a prefix if there's a number after. Here's a list of some polyatomic ions, and polyatomic ions are 2 or more covalently bonded ions, but these ions act as one, and there's not really a pattern to the way like the names are for the polyatomic ions, so you pretty much have to just memorize and know the polyatomic ion with the name of the ion. So like PO3 3- is phosphite, where PO4 3- is phosphate. This one really doesn't look anything like its name, but it's CH3COO is acetate. Another example is CrO2-, which is chromite. And the next thing we'll talk about is acids. Acid compounds, they're named based on their anion, and their anion is the atom that's attached to the hydrogen ion. All acid compounds are going to have, well, all simple acid compounds are going to have one anion and one hydrogen atom. There's simple acid compounds, and there's more complex acid compounds. More complex acid compounds have oxygen in them, but simple compounds, they don't have oxygen, they just have hydrogen. So when you're naming a simple acid compound, the name is going to start with hydro, and it's going to end with the suffix ic. They're named by the ion that they're going to form when they dissolve. So over here is some examples of simple acid compounds. So you have your nonmetal fluorine, which is paired with hydrogen, and you get hydrofluoric acid, your hydro prefix and your ic suffix. Likewise with chlorine, you're going to pair it with hydrogen, get hydrochloric acid. Sulfur, hydrosulfuric acid. Phosphorus, hydrophosphoric acid. So it's always going to have the hydro prefix and the ic suffix for simple acid compounds.